And this terrible road. Whoa. Almost got a huge bug to the face. Alright guys, welcome back to another Super Secret Squirrel video. Today I have a pretty important topic to talk about, I think. Something that's applicable to almost all riders. Whether you're brand new to riding, so I don't know, 6 months or less, or you've been riding a year or two, and you've had enough time to get the bug, and then come to this fork in the road in terms of decision points when this significant emotional event happens. And really what I'm talking about is what happens after you wreck. So it can be any kind of wreck. It can be in the right lane here, so while I'm talking, I don't have a cop roll up on me while I'm doing 15 over. It can be any kind of wreck. So whether you wreck it at the track, you wreck on the street, you hit a car hits you, you go off the road, whatever. So you lay the bike down and you felt like you were on top of the world up until half a second right before that happens. So what I'm not going to talk about is procedural stuff. So what do I say to my insurance company if I have it on video? Do I provide it to them? I think the answer to that is probably obvious to most of us, but I'm not going to talk about stuff like that. What I'm talking about is the emotional piece, the thought process that you have to go through to either decide to get back on the bike or to stay off the bike. Or if you get back on the bike, do I keep it on the track or do I ride on the street and the track? So I'll say the thing that brought this topic up to me, I had a wreck probably about a year after I had my bike, and like I said earlier, before you have your wreck, you probably feel like you got this whole motorcycle riding thing down and nothing's going to happen to you. It can't happen to you because you're too good. And while I consider myself a pretty humble guy most of the time, when you get on a bike, your personality changes, especially on a sport bike. Now, when I'm on my Victory, I got a 2013 Cross Country. It's a big cruiser. I'm a lot more chill when I ride. I still like to accelerate. Accelerating's my thing. If I can go to 0 to 60 as fast as I possibly can, that's my thing. Top speed's not really where it's at for me. While that is fun also, it's always the acceleration of the top speed. So when you get on your bike, your personality changes a little bit. If you're kind of a shy, reserved guy, you get on this thing that has 100, 150 plus horsepower, and you want to go fast. You feel like a badass, right? You're wearing all this gear, people look at you, you look awesome, and you want to show off a little bit. Or you think that you're a MotoGPer on the street, which is probably the most dangerous thing you can do on a motorcycle, is ride it like you're on a track, but on the street. Like I said earlier, there was something that kind of triggered this, and I was watching Yammie Noob's last couple videos on his wreck. I guess somebody, oh, they're doing a burn up there. Not going that way. When he had his wreck, for those of you who don't know, go check out his videos. But he found out kind of what happened to him. So he initially thought that he low-sided, hit the fence, and had a concussion and couldn't remember what was going on. And what wound up happening was he high-sided the bike, he was ejected, and then hit a huge boulder on the side of the road. What are the chances that he's going to hit the one boulder on the side of this road? But he hits it head first, Superman's, and concussion, hospital, so on and so forth. Totals his bike. So for those of you who don't know what a high side is, essentially you're riding the bike around a corner, and as you come around the corner, the rear loses traction, and the rear and the front tire are on the same plane essentially. And then at some point, the rear tire gains traction, and you go from this to this, and it throws you right off the top of the bike. Now that's probably one of the worst dismounts from a motorcycle, because you're going at a high speed, and now you have all this inertia, magic and wizardry really, that ejects you off the bike, not only forward but up. So yeah, that's bad news bears. And you'll see that in MotoGP sometimes, where some guys, they may touch the rear brake in a turn, and then they realize, oh, that's bad, or they touch it too much and they try to release it, and then the rear tire catches. Whatever. But it was a bad day for him. So now he's putting out videos saying, hey, I don't know if I want to get back on the bike, and if I get back on the bike, am I going to do street only or track only? And actually in his most recent video, he said, hey, I love riding too much to not get back on the bike. So Yammie, shout out to you, brother. I'm happy to hear that. Whether you ride street or track, dude, it doesn't matter. And don't let anybody throw a bunch of chaff your way saying, like you need to do one thing or another. Because at the end of the day, it's your pink flesh on this motorcycle, and if you wreck it on the track and you can walk away from it, you're good. If you wreck it on the street and you can walk away from it, you're good. But if you wreck it and you break something on either surface, then it sucks all the way around. I mean, it sucks regardless of whether you wreck or not, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, my wreck. Let's talk about that. I'd had my CBR, the same bike, for about, say about a year, maybe a little less. I was riding in Daytona Beach. I was going to college at the time there, and I was riding back to school. I was actually going to work at school. I worked at a job on campus there. And I'm riding on this 2-lane road. It's 2 lanes this direction, 2 lanes this direction, with a double yellow splitting the 2 lanes. And I'm in the left lane. I just passed a vehicle on the right, and in front of me was a big black SUV. What are you doing? In front of me was a big black SUV, and it was so tall and the windows were so dark that I couldn't see through it. Typically, if I'm behind an SUV or a van or something, I try to look through the rear window and through the front window so I can see what they see, at least in terms of traffic. And I couldn't in this case. So I looked down for just a second to see how much gas I had, and from the time I look down from the gas and I look up, simultaneously, the SUV in front of me had swerved violently into the right lane, and I look up to see a Buick. I think it was a Buick LeSabre, older model. I want to say it was like a late 90s. Stopped in the left lane of this highway. All right, double yellows, and the dude stopped. Now, my first reaction was, oh shit, slam on the brakes, right? And when the person stopped, they were probably, I was doing about 45 miles an hour. And when I approached the guardrail, I would say this was probably from here to there, the yellow piece on that guardrail. So I lock up the brakes, and I have nowhere to go. There's oncoming traffic this way. I check right real quick to see if I can jet over, but that black SUV is sitting right next to me. So I commit. I let go of the brakes, and the reason why I let go of the brakes is because I had locked it up, and it was becoming uncontrollable. I needed traction back on the bike. Now, obviously, in the second and a half or 2 seconds that I had to think about all this, I wasn't thinking, oh, okay, this is what the bike's doing. It just happened. And as it turns out, if this is the car, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but if this is the car here, my bike winds up doing this, clips the right rear of this car, and then makes a right-hand turn in the right lane, and then falls on the left side. So it only damaged the left side of my bike. I wind up hitting the dude's trunk. I go left shoulder first, up over the trunk. My head, the front left of my head, goes through the guy's rear windshield. I was wearing a helmet. Shatters that. And as I shatter the windshield, I roll over on top of his back seat. So now my right shoulder is facing the front of the car, and my right leg is pointed down towards the left side of the vehicle. So I'm laid out on the back seat of this guy's back seat, or I'm laid out on the back of this guy's back seat, and I look over, and this dude looks like he was around when the dinosaurs were around, right? This guy was old. And he looks at me, and he goes, "Oh my God." And I look at him and I say, "Are you okay?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay?" I said, "I think so." But for those of you who've been in an accident, you know when you wreck your bike or you're in a car accident, your adrenaline goes through the roof. And you could probably lift a car. I could probably have gotten off that thing and picked my bike up and thrown it on the side of the road. Maybe not literally, but you know what I mean. There's a bunch of adrenaline pumping through my body. And the reason why I bring that up is because you don't know if you're really injured at that point. So you can get up and walk around. You don't really know what happened. Your brain's still trying to catch up. You may have gone through that slow motion time lapse thing that a lot of guys talk about. I experienced that on my wreck. And then it all catches up to you real quick. But yeah, it's just a bad day all the way around. So what wound up happening is I wasn't insured on the bike. I just got it. I was still I say kid, but you know, I was 22, 23 years old at the time. A broke college student. Florida didn't require me to have insurance, so I thought, you know, I'm going to be a conservative, safe rider, and it won't matter. Obviously, riding isn't 100% about how you ride. There's other factors. There's weather, there's animals, there's other drivers, and there's mechanical pieces to your bike. So if the front tire comes off your bike, you can be Rossi, and you're still going to probably eat it pretty hard. And the reason why I bring that up is, well, I don't really know why I brought that up. So I wound up being at fault for this accident because I hit this guy from behind, regardless of whether or not he was trying to make an illegal left-hand turn and all that stuff. Oh, and a side note. The dude tells me, I'm just going to my doctor's office because I'm having heart problems. So I'm thinking, all right, this guy's going to keel over. It's going to be manslaughter. Oh, almost hit another dragonfly. It's going to be manslaughter on my behalf or something crazy like that, right? And I'm going to prison forever. All right. Another side note, kind of fun. The police take pictures of my accident, and my mom winds up getting these pictures. You know, my mom's been anti-motorcycle since forever, since I could remember. So she opens this package from the Daytona Police Department, and she sees pictures of my bike, which she didn't know I had. And obviously the bike looks pretty bad, the car looks pretty bad, and this guy's being cool. I think he's going to let me pass him here. So the bike's pretty jacked up, the car's pretty jacked up, and I get a phone call, and you can just imagine how that went. My mom's a nurse, by the way, so she sees this shit on the regular. So getting back to the whole point of this video, do you get back on the bike or do you not get back on the bike? I contemplated, I'm not going to lie, I contemplated while I was fixing my bike whether it was a good idea for me to get on or not. Was it worth the enjoyment to get back on the bike? And obviously that conclusion was yes, it is. I was pretty gun shy when I got back on. Anybody that stopped in front of me, I was giving them like 5 car lengths, which became almost unsafe, right? Because then I had people trying to cut me off, and then I would back up and back up and back up as more cars kind of fuddled in front of me. But when you have that accident, you really need to stop and think, is it because I'm a bad driver? Am I driving unsafe? Can I learn to drive safely? And if the answers to those questions line up to you being able to have the maturity and say, yeah, I was being stupid, I want to get back on the bike and be a different kind of rider, then, dude, I'd highly encourage you to get back on. If the answer is, oh, you know, that won't happen to me because now I'm better, now I'll be ready for that next time it happens, I would say give it some more consideration. So I'm going to end this video here as I have no idea where I'm at and I need to figure out how to get home. But as you guys are riding around, be smart, be safe. Everybody likes to go fast. There's nothing wrong with going fast. Just know there's an appropriate time and place for that, right? And I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth because I enjoy going fast. Is it smart to be going around a road that I've never been on with a bunch of trees that say there's cows everywhere? Probably not, but you know, there's some level of risk that you assume. So assume the right risk, ride smart, ride safe, and I will see you guys on the next video. As a bird almost hits me. See ya. Oh, I got a cramp. Oh, cramp. There we go. Oh, no, it's back. Oh, God. That's what happens when you get old. You can't even ride a sport bike anymore.